Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fitness Beast YouTube channel. And today we're going to be discussing BMR, TDEE, and what you need to effectively do to either lose weight, gain weight, or attain your fitness goals in general. So, what BMR and TDEE are? BMR stands for your basal metabolic rate, right? This is the amount of calories your body burns simply existing. So in an absolute inert state, you will burn this amount of calories regardless of what you're doing. Your TDEE, on the other hand, stands for your total daily energy expenditure. This takes your BMR number. Your BMR is always your basis for any number you're doing when you're calculating your fitness goals, and it multiplies it by either 1.3 if you're relatively sedentary, 1.5 if you're mainly sedentary but do get some activity on during the day, or 1.7 if you're an extremely active individual. Now, what you do is after you take these numbers, that's when you can then properly determine how much more or less you need to eat in order to either lose weight or gain weight. Now, to do it safely in either any direction, you want to keep the amount of calories you're either in deficit or surplus of between 300 to 500 calories. I do a bit more because I'm a little bit of an extremist, but I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But first, there are three main equations that people use nowadays in order to calculate their BMR. I'll show them right here. First, at the top here, is the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation. Now, this one for me, when I calculated it, gave me a calculation of 1,721 for my BMR. The second one, the Harris-Benedict equation, right here in the middle, gave me a BMR of 1,812, and the final one, which is my favorite, is at the bottom, and that one gave me an answer for my BMR of 1,664. So, what I did in order to calculate my TDEE, which is your, with the TDEE, as I mentioned earlier, it's your base metabolic rate, what you do on a daily level, including all your activities throughout the day. So what I did was, because I'm mainly a writer, if anything, I calculated 1664, I multiplied it by 1.3, and I came up to around 2,166 calories, roughly. I don't remember the exact number, but it was around 2,160 calories or so. Now, I eat on a daily basis 1,626 calories. I do that because, again, I said I'm an extremist and I wanted my results yesterday, but also after working out and being in the fitness and interested in nutrition for well over 10 years at this point, I've discovered that for my body, keeping that 1,600 roughly amount of intake of food a day in calories is enough to keep my body functioning at, if not optimal state, functioning in a state where I can properly function, go to work, I can do my workouts, I can push myself as hard as I want, and I can still, survive. And as a type 1 diabetic, it's important to watch those things. And at the same time, eating 1,600 calories, though it is very low, especially if you take into account my workouts, which burn between 500 to 800 calories every workout I do, it gives me a buffer I can play with in order to stay alive. If I get too low or if I'm going too high, I can adjust what I need to do by a couple hundred calories and or carbohydrates in order to make sure my sugars stay consistent, in order to make sure that I'm properly gaining, muscle, or not gaining muscle, but keeping strength up and everything like that, and keeping my cells, fueled for the day. So, with that in mind, it's immensely important to stay within that healthy limit of 300 to 500 calories. Again, generally, 300 to 500 calories generally to stay fit, whether you want to be in a deficit or a surplus, regardless of what your goals are, in order to lose weight or gain muscle. Again, I go a little bit more because I've experimented on my body and I know a little bit more works for me, and I can probably still push it even more than that. But for me, 1,600 calories, regardless of what I burn, works for me. It's an extreme perspective to have, but it is one you could use if you've tested it on yourself. And the one thing about mathematics is that numbers will never lie. So I use the numbers, I eat accordingly for my body, and with that, despite the fact of the current situation around the world and being stuck at home relatively all the time, I'm still losing weight and I'm still maintaining the right amount of energy levels I need to do to be able to work out throughout the day. Now, I hope that was enough information for you. I'll include the links down below for all three equations plus the TDEE calculations at the bottom, so you can do your own homework and you can figure out what works best for you, and you can get the same results I'm getting consistently. Before I let you go though, don't forget, like, subscribe, hit those buttons at the bottom. I need it all, and I'm trying to get as much information to as much people as possible, and share some love. I'll see you guys next week. Bye guys.